All right. Can we do a quick audio check here, guys? Let me know in the chat if everything is fine. Gonna give it a couple of minutes before we kick it off. What's up, Janelle? Can you confirm if the audio is fine? Hope you're doing well, man. Hey, Riches. All Gucci Razor. All right, that's good. That's good. That's good. Let me share my screen real quick. So we're going live here. Let's get all the goodies in. Regular chart. We've got the VWAPs on. We've got Sierra chart on. All right. Pointer. Weekly, monthly, composites, daily. So we're set to go. Let's give it a minute, and then we're kicking it off. What's up, Paul? What's up, League of Shorts? We've got Adam with us as well. Good evening, man. I had a fantastic week. What about you guys? How was your weekend? Let's get these. I had a good week and a good weekend. I went to see the movie Lilo and Stitch today with my wife and my kids. That was really nice. It was a good movie. You can definitely recommend if you got kids or you just like Disney in general. Then yeah, I can definitely recommend that. Work out my legs are sore as a motherfucker, bro. I mean, my back is still itching. I got chest day again tomorrow, and I'm going to be increasing my caloric intake. The aggressive cut is over, so I'll be increasing it slowly to get back into things. So I'm very excited to see how that goes with training as well. No, it's a good story. I like it. Well, it was mainly a kids movie, right? So don't expect a whole lot of it. You're back from holiday, Adam. Damn, where did you go? Yeah, so I've got the, I'm tagging 89. 89 or is it 98? Like 81, 81, 85, 80. I'm 89. Yeah, 89 kg right now. So I need to go lower still, but my body fat is around 15% now. So it's good enough for me to start getting into that leaner bulk again, right? Because otherwise it's too much on the muscles. You went to Malta? Oh, that's nice. I like that. Tornadoes and storms here in Missouri. Damn, son. You got like one of those nuclear basements for those storms. I've seen that a couple of times. That's sick, man. All right, enough chit chat. First off, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream on Bitcoin. Today we're going to be analyzing the next potential trades for the week ahead. We're going to be using VWAP, TPO, and regular price action for that. If you're not familiar with us, just stick throughout the stream. If you have questions, you can ask them in the chat. We will be happy to answer all of the questions at the end of the stream. So for those of you who do not have a lot of time today, I'll be going through it rather quick, and I'll be doing the Q&A at the end of the stream. So first things first, as usual, I'm going to be starting off on Sierra charts, and we're going to be doing a top-down approach. So for those of you who are new to the channel, what's up, Lotex? What's up, Vertical? Good evening, man. Within this chart, we've got daily profiles. Within the bottom left chart, we've got the same daily profiles, but we have merged some of them, including these 2 days, as a composite. Then on the top right chart, we've got weekly profiles, and then within this screen, we've got monthly profiles. So right off the bat, I think it is pretty, clear here that the most recent condition based on TPO is that we have formed a 2-day composite, right? If we take a look at the previous 2 days, 1, 2, we've got some value overlap here. So I have decided to merge these 2 days together, which gives us a 2-day composite. And we can clearly see by the interactions towards the downside and towards the upside that it is a valid level, as we are not able to accept above it for now, right? So that's the first thing that I want to be aware of. The second thing is that we've got a bunch of anomalies. Now, if I take it towards this chart, where we can clearly see the composites, we've got a large amount of anomalies, rather, because we've got a single print, right here, right? This is a single print, this gap here. Some of the price action traders might refer to it as a fair value gap. It's all the same. I'm calling it single prints because, you can see these single blocks as a single print. That's one anomaly. Then we've got a really bad high intraday. That's a poor high there. We've got a poor low there. We've got another poor low here. And most importantly, slightly below all of these inefficiencies, we've got an older 16-day composite value area high from previous all-time high. So what's up, Trisha? Good evening, man. And good evening from Indonesia. That's good, man. Welcome to the chat. So all I'll be saying here, purely based on TPO, there's going to be a large amount of trades going into next week, some good amount of trades as well, where we're going to be offsetting these based on the anomalies above and based on the anomalies below in combination with VWAP. We're taking a quick peek here at the weekly profiles. For that, I want to extend these profiles here. All we're really doing right here is this box here is from the previous week distribution that we had at the prior all-time high, right? So within the previous all-time high, let's see if I can show it to you guys so you can have like a better view with it. Right? So let me zoom in a bit more. So do you see this previous all-time high? That was a 14-week composite because we've got 14 weeks of overlapping value. I've made a composite of that and I've extended it throughout time because it's still a very relevant level. Now, if I were to show you how that's looking at where we currently are, let's zoom in. This is where we opened up above that 14-week composite value area high. Any pullback back into that level was a great buying opportunity, right? We were not able to accept below, and well and behold, we're getting a new all-time high here. So on the weekly, things are looking good as long as we maintain this as support. And then on the monthly, same story basically, where, I can extend this as far back as I want, but this is essentially a similar composite as the 14-week. Again, around 104-ish was that monthly composite value high. We weren't able to accept below, boom, all-time high. So within the previous streams as well, we are highlighting that even though short-term we were rotational. Remember, for those of you who are with us within the previous stream, I said right here, right? Whoops. We were trading within this 16-day composite. And I said, the moment we start trading above, that's when we're going to go towards all-time highs, right? And there we get it. So, yes, last week was a bit, mixed up. But eventually, when there was that shift above the composite value high, it proved to be, a genuine break above, which resulted in new high. So all in all, I would say short-term, going into next week, purely based on TPO, my focus is going to be around this single print here and the 16-day composite value area high. So assuming that we leave these inefficiencies like they are right now and we accept back within the composite, right? This will be the first step that I would need to see short term to confirm that we are failing to break below the composite value low, at which I'll be looking for longs for a move higher. If we're getting that, I think we're likely to fill in this inefficiency here, at which I'll be looking at if we're getting this and then accept back within the composite, it means that we remain within a rotational environment. I'll be looking for shorts there and I'll be targeting the 16-day composite value high. These will be short-term rotations purely based on intraday trades. Again, my main bias is to look for additional longs here around that region. I think it's just going to be, we're either going to be forming a low around here, or we did it right here and we leave everybody sidelined again with these poor lows, right? But, the moment of max opportunity, should be within this region, because if we fail to hold the support, I think it's over and we're going to be running like very low at that point, okay? So that's it on TPO. Now, if we take things towards VWAP here, this chart, and for that, I want to put your attention to, let's increase this chart right here. And it might seem messy at first, but what we basically have here is we've got, let me just crunch this a bit more. So if you take a look at this line, this is yearly VWAP. And then on the new year, it closes and it becomes previous year VWAP, right? From that VWAP, we've got a couple of standard deviations. We've got standard deviation 1, 2, and 3. these are also extended throughout time when we close that year, and they remain very important price points, right? Because if we take a look at that previous all-time high, that standard deviation 3, look, 1, 2, 3, was capping upside with every attempt of a rally to go higher. Now on that yearly close, this remains a very important price point, right? And as we can see, it is no surprise that sellers are stepping in there to the actual tick, right? So I think if we take this back towards a regular chart, reset chart view, I think if Bitcoin is going to be forming a consolidation, it's likely to be against this standard deviation 3 from 2024, and then confirmation, because yes, we were trading above all-time high, but in my opinion, it is not necessarily where we're trading in uncharted territory, right? Because we still have that standard deviation from 2024. If we do start to accept above here, I think we are indeed in price discovery mode, at which we can see higher prices pretty rapid, right? But until then, heading into the remainder of, you know, this month, because do keep in mind, within 5 or 6 days, we've got a new monthly close. This is one hell of a resistance, 112, right? And then in terms of support, main focus is around this level here. So we can do whatever we want down here. I do not want to see closes back within. Higher time frame needs to be respected of that 16-day value high, similar to what we saw with the previous highs, for move higher, and then the confirmation that, in my opinion, we are truly running into a bull market with new highs, new all-time highs every day. When you refresh that phone, right, you can see that we've pushed towards a new high that's above 112 in my opinion. On the quarterly time frame, super clean trade here. We saw acceptance above previous quarterly value high. We've got time and space between the actual retest. That was your buying opportunity. I wanted to get more spot on a final drive lower. We didn't get it, unfortunately, but you know, thankfully we're long from, well, not long on perps, but we bought spot at these lows, which I just need to say that, by the way, I have started to scale out some of that spot here because of the interaction that we have with that standard deviation tree. Not scaling out everything. It's just, this is enough of a move for me to be able to take a decent amount of profits, all right? Now, that being said, if we're taking a look at the quarterly time frame, what I like here is that the quarterly developing value is creeping upwards. I know a lot of people are watching these equal lows. In my opinion, if Bitcoin is bullish, we shouldn't revisit that. Leave everybody sidelined, right? I know a lot of people are waiting for this. In my opinion, we need to be doing some sort of a weird consolidation here before that slow grind higher. Eventually, if we accept above, that would be really bullish. What would be extremely bearish is acceptance below 100K. If we're getting below this, I'll be looking for shorts there. And I think at that point, we can target these lows into 84K, right? Because at that point, if we're trading here, based on price action, we're getting acceptance below a previous low, right? So we have a market structure break, acceptance back within quarterly value. So all in all, that would be really bearish. Taking a look at the monthly value here, I would say the monthly developing value isn't necessarily as auctionable as it should, mainly due to the fact that we had this weird choppy consolidation at developing value high, right? Not something that I use within my trading from a day-to-day basis. However, considering that it is the 25th of May and that we're likely to get new value within 5 days, is it 5 days or 6 days upon the monthly close? I can't recall anymore. However, what I do know is that if we get a monthly close, it means that we're getting a new previous month value. And by now, people that are watching the streams weekly know that at that point, we're getting new static lines. So within 5 days, it's going to be really obvious to me if we're trading up here, this is our bullish line in the center, right? Any pullback there is a buying opportunity for a move towards the highs. However, if in 5 days, Bitcoin is trading in the middle of that value, this value area high becomes resistance, and we can expect something along these lines, right? Back towards VWAP. Does that make sense to you guys? And how we're getting new value within 5 days? And then, you know, this actually, it's going to be really good because we will have a new previous value to work with. But until then, monthly is looking decent here. If we're taking a look at the weekly was imbalanced up. Oftentimes when Bitcoin is consolidating and remains bullish, this should have held a support for continuation higher. Obviously, this got triggered by, I think it was Trump with the tariff stuff on Twitter again, announcing, I think it was like 50% for Europe, right? That led to acceptance back within weekly value. We saw some sort of buying here, the weekly VWAP couldn't be sustained, and we can't really revisit the developing week value high. However, this is good for us because this is the single print that I was referring to based on TPO, and that will line up with previous week value high at that point. So if we take everything, by the way, before we move towards a regular chart, are we all clear on this for Bitcoin? Let me quickly know in the chat. So if we take this and we move it towards a regular chart like that, we've got a couple of things that I've put on the chart, right? On the H12 right here, we've got the 2024 standard deviation tree, 111.975, right? This is the exact number. We then have the all-time high that is around 109. Then we've got the 16-day composite value high. We can see how it previously capped upside, right? This was that value high as well from that 16-day. So, you know, no matter what happens, I do not want to see a higher time frame closes back below that level. It is confluent with an H12 level of support. Now, if we take this into consideration, and we're adding a weekly value because I forgot about that, developing week value high. Let's go towards 30-minute time frame. Right, so what I want to be aware of going into next week is around 110.065. Coordinates 110.065. We have got what am I doing wrong? It needs to be up here. 110.156. Let's just do it like that. We've got the upcoming previous week value high. All right. So for this, right, it is confluent with this previous high. It is confluent with the single prints. If you go back towards TPO, right, this is where we have that single print from. It is slightly above that 2-day composite value high. I mean, if 2 days starts trading here, at that point we can merge all 3 days together to get a 3-day composite, but we'll go over that tomorrow in Discord. To see whether or not we're getting a 3-day composite. However, combining everything together here, I think long-term trades should be based still on the long side where, you know, if we're getting some sort of a tree drive here to take out the poor lows into that 16-day composite value high, into the H12 level of demand right there, right? Let's say that we do this, sweep it, reclaim a low. I think this is a really good buying opportunity for a move higher towards the single prints and potentially towards this poor high that we have right there, right? And then conversely, if short term we can accept back within this 2-day composite, right? Because this is the composite that we're currently trading within. If we're accepting back within, that means that this is a failed auction below at which we can expect price to trade higher into the poor high there, poor high here, and then potentially into the single prints, at which it will be very important to see, hey, can we accept above the previous week value high, right? Don't forget about this level. At that point, probably going to go towards that 2024 standard deviation tree. But if we take out this high and we fail to hold above, it makes up for a good shorting opportunity back towards the lows to clean up this inefficiency. So to put it simply, going into next week, we've got anomaly 1 in the form of a single print above a poor high there, into a key contextual level, which is the previous week value high. If there's at this level, there's going to be 2 trades. Number 1 is sweep this high into the single prints, close back within the composite, shorts targeting the opposite extreme of the composite, and then the equal lows here. That's number 1. Right? If we're trading at this price point. Number 2 would be clean break back above, short-term consolidation, tries to break back below previous week value high, buyers are stepping in, we can't close below that makes up for a good long opportunity. This is number 2 towards that 2024 standard deviation tree and potentially even all-time highs. You know, those are the 2 trades around this level. And then conversely, you know, from a really high time frame approach, if you want to be, you know, setting orders and don't look back, this H12 down close candle here, that's the bullish invalidation. It is confluent with that 16 days. So any pushback within this, we want to see, you know, it can wick how deep, you know, maybe 50% of this block, but I need to see an H12 close above for continuation higher, right? That's the longer term approach. For short term trades, I would more so focus on, you know, can we accept back within the composite? Short term trade, maybe towards the poor highs there, right? If we take out the lows here and then reclaim that previous low, for example, this level, I think this is a proper long. Your invalidation below that low and confirmation that you are on the right side of the trade is when there's a shift in condition back within the composite, because that would mean, number 1, we're cleaning up the anomalies here. Number 2, we're coming off a key contractual level. In this case, it's a 16-day composite value high. And number 3, we've got a recent shift in condition there when we're getting back within the composite. That's, you know, the 3-step plan to, you know, have enough confirmation that you're like, okay, I'm betting on the right horse here and would like to go towards previous week value highs, the first destination, to clean up the single prints. And then we'll have to assume at that point, let's say that we set an alert there. Hey, are we going to be accepting above that previous week value, or is this going to be a rejection and we remain rotational within these 2 extremes? So is that correct? Is that in line with what everybody's expecting? Is that clear? And are there any questions so far? Should I join Prime instead of buying sushi if I'm confused about the explanation? I mean, sounds like a good play, right? We do these streams every morning within Discord with a daily prep. So if you want to skip sushi for a day to join us, then by all means join. So shall we take a look at Ethereum as well? I've got some time left. If you guys want, we could take a look at Ethereum. Just join for the degens, 100%. Like this. H12. Like this. And then here. So, let's break it down. Bit cleaner than Bitcoin here. We said chart view. So we're starting on the yearly. Now, conversely, you know, it's the exact opposite compared to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin saw the actual low at the yearly rolling VWAP, and Ethereum is now actually retesting it as resistance. So to me, it's not a real surprise that we're seeing a short-term consolidation here, and, you know, confirmation that I think that we're going to go towards 3100 would be a clean break back above, right? At that point, I think any pullback back into this big ass daily candle there is considered a good buying opportunity for a move towards 3100. I think altcoins will do really well. Hype is an extreme outperformer. We've got WIF, we've got Pepe, they're all doing great at that point, right? So you want to be positioning for some higher beta altcoins. But until that happens, this is big ass resistance. Now, if we're taking a look here at the quarterly, it is starting to look like, you know, compression heading into this level. Let's say that we can have a, you know, a shift above here, previous quarterly VWAP once again. Let's say that we start trading here. I think it is safe to assume that it is compressing into previous quarterly VWAP, at which I think we're running it back towards 30, 32, 31-ish, right? So it's looking good as well. The monthly rotational within developing month value, and then the weekly, right? Super clean over under trade here. We front run previous week value low, sweep it. We have a market structure break there. Then we push back within this level of support before continuation higher. So I got some Meow Hawk. 100% bro. That's Hawk. So we're going to go towards a regular chart here, right? And I think heading into next week, I'm still long on Ethereum. And I think, honestly, I would like to see this to be the actual low. But my main focus heading into next week is going to be around this gap here, which is confluent with the previous quarter VWAP and the previous year value low. Because I think now that we've formed equal lows here, there's a large amount of pending liquidity resting below it. If we can see expansion higher into this level, I need to see a clean break. I need to see a clean break back above to confirm the low is in my opinion, at which I think we're going to go towards 27 and 3100. However, if we leave these equal lows like that and we start to slowly grind higher, we trade into the single prints here, which will line up with Bitcoin taking out the single prints as well. We form a short-term distribution, reclaim that previous high like this. At that point, I think shorts are in play for a move lower into the equal lows and then potentially into developing your VWAP and so on. So I'll be mainly basing my Ethereum thesis on what Bitcoin is going to be doing. I'll be taking a look at some altcoins as well to determine which are the weakest, which are the strongest. I think the main plans going into this week should be focused around previous week value high at 110 and the 16-day composite value high at 105.7. Is that clear for everybody? So let's go with some questions. Should we put more value on previous week established value or the most recent composite? Let's say tomorrow we have 3 days. At that point, previous week, because previous week is 7 days and that composite is only 3 days. So previous week has definitely more significance to it. What's your thoughts on RSI and Awesome Oscillator, bro? You ever used it? Honestly, I don't, because there's just too much noise within the RSI to me, to be honest, where I see people drawing divergences on it. Bitcoin is doing these divergences like a lot. And if you're basing a lot of trades on them, oftentimes it's just a fake out, in my opinion. I haven't tried the new extra charts update. I wanted to, but they still haven't implemented the global drawing stuff, which is basically a necessity for me. I can't be asked to just draw a box on every chart every time that I start it up. So I think Sol hasn't changed much from my previous prep within Discord, right? Super crystal clear reaction here to the tick, took out this high into previous quarterly VWAP, consolidating right now. H4, right? What I would like to see, H12. What would be a good Sol trade would be a clean break back above this high, right? Like there. Anything back within here can be a buying opportunity for a move towards previous year value high. That would be my buy. But we can go over that more in depth tomorrow within Discord. What was your process of validating your edge and backtesting it? For me personally, it was the lack of confirmation, where I was like, when I'm a price action trader by heart, right? However, a lot of times when you're monitoring a certain trade or you're basing your trades on order blocks or breakers or whatever, sometimes they would work, sometimes they wouldn't work whilst everything was lighting up. So at that point, I shifted more towards, maybe it's because of my mechanical background, but I wanted to have like more, I wanted to know what was occurring within the bar itself. That's when I switched more towards order flow as a complementary thing towards my trading. And then alongside that, I was using VWAP as well to determine the levels. Where do I actually want to be trading? And not necessarily having to guess around, let's wait for a market structure break, right? Because I think I'm not too shit on the market structure break, but in my opinion, especially when trading crypto, let's say that we've got resistance here. I want to be the guy that sells at resistance, right? I don't want to wait for a market structure break to confirm to me, okay, well, maybe we're getting a shift in trend. Let's plot a Fibonacci there and let's hope that we're getting a retracement and then I maybe get into a trade, right? I just want to be a bit more aggressive where I'm like, okay, well, I've got a defined resistance here based on, for example, previous month value high. I know from a structural perspective, if we're bearish, we shouldn't close above. We form an initial high. I know what I want to see based on order flow or the high volume bars that you see me using, right? If I see enough amount of trap traders here at the highs, I think this is where I want to engage, right? I don't want to wait for that break and then get in. I want to be a bit more aggressive. I haven't used Ates at all. I think it's clunky. I don't like it. It's not, and I'm saying that with a Sierra chart background, right? I can do a lot of stuff in Sierra charts, but I can't do stuff within, I just can't within in Ates. It just doesn't work for me. But yeah. Do you use footprints these days? I'm seeing the high volume bar and point of view use more and reason for that. Yeah, I do use as you can see, I use footprints a lot. However, I think if you just want to have like a simplified point of view where you're like, well, maybe I want to be, if you're only preferring to trade around trading view and so on, I think, this break from all-time high is a bad example because of course this lured in a large amount of volume. But usually when we're getting a look, for example here, trading shouldn't be that hard, right? If I have support in the form of a previous quarter value high and I have a 30-minute high volume bar with a point of control at the lows, it's an indication to me that they're interested here. Sellers can break it lower. There's enough volume being transacted at the lows to form a high volume bar, both on Coinbase and on Binance. If we close above, I'm long, right? And I'm going to be targeting, that 16-day value high, for example. It shouldn't be that hard. Your explanation of the pricing from a TPO perspective was really great, by the way. Thank you. You're very welcome, man. You're very welcome. Does it look like acceptance above the 2-day composite on Bitcoin? Well, let's take a look together, right? Let's go towards TPO. Let's get rid of this. Like that. Zoom in. So does this look like acceptance to you? One of the rules that I have, and this is why you will always see me charting and executing on a 30-minute time frame almost always, is because I need to see, for acceptance, I basically need to see this. Do you guys see this gap here? The gap? I need to see a gap like that, like here. And if we have a gap like that, to me, that's an indication that we've got enough time and space between the actual retest, and then it's a sign to me that we're accepting back within. But right here, we're just basically tagging it as resistance. So to me, it's more an indication that we're unable to accept above for now, right? Similar to what we have right here. This is not considered acceptance because we don't have a gap like that. Do you think trading is not rocket science or both? I think trading is extremely competitive. I can't pronounce that word, but I think it is hard. But that's mainly because people are flawed. Like they continue to make the same mistakes while they actually know they shouldn't. But I always tell people, like, if your trading system, for me personally, I can write down my trading system on one piece of paper, right? A couple of lines. And that's basically it. It shouldn't be that hard when you know what to look for. For example, for me, what I like to do is I like to do a prep based on VWAP, right? For example, if you go towards a Notion here, this is what we do on a daily basis for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Let's load it up, right? We've got Bitcoin. We're going to be putting like, what's market profile doing? We're rotational. What's longer-term VWAP doing? At that point, we're making a summary, a narrative, the high post for that day, right? For Ethereum, same story. So we're building a case, and I'm using the standard deviations and VWAP from the yearly, quarterly, monthly, and the weekly time frame. On top of that, we're also going to be looking at TPO to see, similar to what we just did, hey, do we've got any sort of anomalies, right? Do we've got single prints that we can target? Do we've got poor structures in the form of poor lows that we can target? And then everything is coming together within a single chart. So you guys during the stream only see a simplified chart right here, right? But if we're breaking this down on a daily basis, you will be able to see for yourself like, okay, so based on VWAP, we're actually still bullish. However, it's time to start paying attention here, right? No surprise that this was the actual high. Single prints is a potential destination because it's confluent with previous week value high. Poor lows from TPO confluent with the 16-day composite value high, right? So this is all, if you start seeing this on a daily basis or whatever system you're using, it should be this simple. At least that's my point of view. Any plans to make more YouTube videos? Well, yeah, but I'm, right now I'm pretty busy with a lot of things. So I don't really have time to also make YouTube videos and so on. Exactly. It's all about pizza, not money. You missed the shorts. Yeah, bro, I know. It's fun, right? Shorts, but to be honest, it's not that. I mean, bro, I just can't do it. Why and what is so important about time and space? Well, that's because that's the indication of acceptance above a level. Otherwise, you can just, why should I see time and space above 2-day composite value low here? Because that's an indication to me that buyers and sellers agree on fair value being up here, right? And if they do not agree on fair value, it should reject here and it should auction lower, right? That's why I want to see that. The 7-day running VWAP is also around the 2-day composite very low. Yeah, exactly. I saw that as well, right? So, this could be a deviation below for continuation higher. But considering the poor lows that we have here, I wouldn't be surprised to see, some sort of sweep like that or whatever. But I have some alerts set, so we'll see what happens next. So I would determine this. I would use this as a dynamic resistance in this case, right? It was dynamic support 2 times. Look, time and space below the 7-day VWAP. Reject it. There we go. Time and space below. Can we long this? No, we need to be waiting for time and space above 7-day and the 2-day. I mean, gold works well on the futures on VWAP. They work really well. And TPO, pretty straightforward. So yeah, TPO and VWAP as well. All right. If there are no further questions, I think, how did you manage to make trading your career? My wife is rich. So I borrow money and I lose it all on a weekly basis. So yeah, that's basically how I did it. No, I did. What I did was I started with, as I said, some of you guys already know it, but I started as a mechanic. And I did that I had shifts where 1 week I would work the early morning shift from 5 till 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And then afterwards I would trade. And then the week afterwards I had late shift. So I would trade in the morning and work in the afternoon. So, I did that for 4 or 5 years to build up capital. And then I just made a switch. And if people ask me, like, should I go full time? I almost never tell them to go full time because I think you should always have a secondary income. Otherwise, you'll start making dumb decisions. For example, if right here, I don't see an actual trade, right? If I'm looking at this chart, the only 2 trades that I can see heading into next week are this previous week value high for potential short if we reject there or acceptance above, or longs on a sweep below the poor lows into the 16-day value high, right? Those are the only 2 trades where I'm like, okay, that's where I'm willing to bet some money on a potential trade. Let's say that within 5 days, your rent is due and you haven't made any trade so far, but you need to be making money because you're trading, right? This will force you into making shitty trades because you have the urge to be in one because you need to have money. You know what I mean? That is why I think it is important to just have an income that covers your day-to-day costs, like your rent, your food, stuff like that. And then, if you can combine that with trading, like that's optimal. You're very welcome, man. I'm glad that I smell like that. I don't know why my previous week value I reads at 104,571. 104. Yeah, but that I'm saying this as the upcoming previous week. Not this one, right? Your previous week is correct, but that's from the current previous week. But you know, if we all go to bed tonight and we wake up tomorrow, that previous week will be a 110. Right? So this is going to be the range that we will be trading within next week. Okay? Okay, guys, I think that's a wrap. It's long enough. I want to thank everybody for attending the stream. If you enjoyed the content, leave me a like. And I will see you guys on the next one. Enjoy your Sunday. Take care.